contract here with State Police with Detective Worthington and Bossier City Police Officer Hugo Holland, or Reserve Police Officer Hugo Holland. Okay. So this is our statement of rights form from State Police. I'm going to get some information from you at the top, and then I'm going to read your Miranda rights right here, and I'll ask you a few questions. If you want to follow along with that, you can. I'm going to have my own copy right here. I'm going to write on. Can you spell your last name for me?
Holland, Holland.
Today's date is March 10th, 2023. Time now is 12:10 p.m. Can you spell your first name for me?
Hugo, Hugo.
Do you know your driver's license number off the top of your head?
468-4500.
Your date of birth?
8/6/63.
That would make you how old?
59.
And what's your last grade completed in high school, college?
Doctorate.
Doctorate.
You keep asking questions I know the answer to. This is going to go pretty quick.
Okay, I'm going to start right here at the top and we'll read down. Before we ask you any questions, you must understand your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you see can be used against you in court or other proceedings. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before questioning, and you have the right to have a lawyer present during questioning. You have the right to a lawyer's advice in the presence of a lawyer, even if you cannot afford to hire one. In such case, a lawyer can be appointed to represent you. If you decide to answer questions without a lawyer present, you still have the right to stop answering questions at any time. You understand your rights, sir?
Yes.
Are you willing to answer questions at this time?
Yes.
Has any threats or promises been made to you, or has any pressure of any kind been used to get you to answer questions and give up your rights?
No.
This is a kind of go-by I use, and we use here in detectives. I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to write down here and fill it out. It's just for me to stay on track so that I answer questions I need to. Like I told everybody else that we've interviewed before you, if you see me or Detective Worthington writing anything down on paper, it's just for us to follow up with questions while you're speaking and telling your statement.
Okay. You actually have to tell people that.
Yes, sir. I've been telling everybody we've interviewed, just so they know like what we're writing down, so if they have any questions and they don't think it's some type of sneak attack. All right. What is your badge number for Bossier City Police?
4027.
And your radio call sign?
Well, my call sign is 540, but that night I was going as 503 because I was a two-man unit with another reserve.
Okay.
So 503 would be what you would hear on the radio for that night if you were listening.
Yes, sir. And that night, are we talking about this past Saturday where a pursuit started in Holland and ended in Bossier City with a crash and shots fired?
Yes.
And you work for the Bossier City Police Department?
Well, work for, I mean, they don't pay me, but yeah, I'm a reserve officer there.
How long have you been a reserve for Bossier City?
25 years. A long time.
And what is your current assignment as a reserve?
All we do is patrol. There are no reserves that are in investigations or anything like that.
Okay.
And we heard earlier there's like a primary reserve and then
I am a primary reserve.
Okay.
Not that it has anything to do with this. I mean, I can get a car and go, answer calls and take a district. I just hadn't seen my buddy in a while, so we went, okay, let's not get in two cars. Let's just get in one and catch up.
Okay.
So that's why I was with another officer.
Okay. And as a reserve, I guess, has the Bossier City taught you proficient in your weapon? They taught you case law and traffic law and things like that, and just the roles of a police officer? Have you been trained in that for Bossier?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. As a reserve, I guess you don't have regular normal duty hours.
No.
It'd be whenever they need you or you come in.
Right.
Okay. On the date of the incident this past Saturday, what was your duty hours that day?
We got in when we felt like it, and we're gonna leave when we felt like it. We decided we would ride for B shift, so our plan was to get there at 1:30, go through roll call, and then leave about 10 o'clock, which of course didn't happen. Because you guys were still out there picking up shell casings and, you know, doing stuff.
Let's see. Okay. All right. Could you describe the uniform you were wearing that day?
It was a Class B, 511 black pants, 511 long sleeve, polo shirt, and an external vest that had police written on the back, police written on the front, and a badge on the chest.
Okay.
I assume that's the kind of description you needed.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And as far as the equipment that you had on your external vest and on your duty rig, could you describe that to me?
On the vest, I had a 30-round magazine for an AR-15, a flashlight, and a pocket that had reading glasses, pens, and a notebook. On the duty belt, going from my belly button clockwise, looking down, was the pepper spray, my personally owned duty sidearm, the extendable ASP baton, a pair of handcuffs, a tourniquet, another pair of handcuffs, my radio, and a mag pouch that held 3 magazines.
Okay.
And I also had you asked, I'll be specific, I also had one of the microphones hooked up to the radio that was hooked up to my vest.
Okay. In your firearm, do you know what type of firearm it is?
Yes.
What type is it?
It's a Springfield XDM 9mm. Who would not know what kind of firearm they have?
Some other officers we've interviewed.
You're shitting me.
And you had 1 magazine inserted into the gun,
Yes,
and then you had 3 extra magazines in a pouch on your rig belt.
yes. And obviously there was one in the chamber. It was ready to go while it was, in the holster.
Okay, so the magazine that was in your gun, it was fully loaded, as in at full capacity?
No, I always download 1 or 2. I carry, I've got extended mag basis on the magazines. The Springfield XDM will carry 19 in the magazine. You put an extension on it, it'll carry 22 in the magazine. I usually downloaded 1 or 2, so each of them had at least 20, maybe 21. But I always download a little bit just because that's what I've learned to do over the years to kind of help the spring tension.
Okay. I think we do the same thing for our AR. Yeah. Could you describe the vehicle you were driving that day?
I wasn't driving. I was the passenger, but it was an issued, marked Bossier PD black and white patrol Tahoe.
And they had the words police written on the side of it, standard issue from Bossier City Police?
Yeah, they changed, for reasons you guys are not interested in, they changed color schemes quite a bit. This is one of the cars that came to us that was, I think it was all black, and they had to put some white vinyl on it. They don't paint them, and that stuff doesn't last very long. And I'm going to give you the car number in a second. Just give me a second. The reason I'm giving you a car number is, even though me and Walsh, we didn't even have time to go out on the call, on the radio, I told somebody in administration that at least one of us had I thought both of us had our body cameras on, mine was not working. But I told administration to tell y'all you probably needed Barry's body cam, and you definitely would want to look at our dash cam. So again, just give me a second and I'll give you the car number.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know it off the top of my
No
head.
problem. I think we taught some guys earlier, they switch out cars daily.
Well, Barry's issued this car, so Barry knows what the damn car number is. I just don't. It's 32 something. Again, give me a second. Johnson. I texted that to Rod Johnson, so let me pull up. Okay, the car number is 2566. Now, I would assume y'all got that video. I reviewed it a couple of days ago.
Yeah, so they gave us probably
50?
12 to 15 discs
Yeah.
full of, each disc packed full of videos.
All right.
You said you had an occupant, is that another reserve, Barry?
Barry Walsh. He should have been in here this morning.
Okay. Barry was driving.
Yes.
And you were in the passenger seat.
Yes.
Okay. You had an in-car camera, you said.
Yes.
It was activated.
Yes.
You had a spotlight, emergency lights, siren, radio, and a computer inside the unit,
Yes.
and all of it was working properly?
Yes.
To your knowledge.
Yes.
Outside the in-car camera, I think you mentioned it, was there any other audio or video recording devices? Your body camera?
I had one that I activated, but it wasn't working. Barry had one that he activated and it was working. I've seen Barry's. Mine just, it wasn't working. I'd forgotten to, again, not that you care, but you know, those stupid things, if you don't dock them at the station every so often, they don't update. I didn't properly update, so it didn't have the latest software and it wasn't working.
Okay. Outside of the body camera and the in-car camera, was there any other audio or video recording devices, either issued by the department or yours personally, that recorded the event?
No.
So from the time, you could walk us through the time that you were first notified of this event?
So you tell me if I'm boring you with details.
No, sir, not at all.
All right. All right, so I don't remember what Barry and I were doing when we heard the chase start. And there wasn't a lot of information on the radio as exactly why the chase was taking place. But they were, you know, headed westbound on East Texas Street. And I remember something on the radio about the guy being armed. I do remember the dispatcher saying that. Now, where they got that information, or somebody said it. I don't know where they got the information. But we're kind of going, okay, well, here's where we are. What's going to be the best place for us to try to intercept this? And we both decided we need to try to intercept at East Texas and Benton Road. So we were, you know, and we hear them making their way quickly westbound. And just as we are northbound on Benton Road, approaching East Texas Street, another unit, one of those shitty F Ford 150s. By the way, I would recommend you not buy one of those for police use. But anyway, one of those blew the intersection just in front of us. Now, it turned out that that vehicle, again, he's heading eastbound on East Texas Street. I am relatively certain that officer, don't remember who he was, saw the dude wreck out. Pretty sure he saw that. It would have been when he was on the west side of the intersection, probably. But he gets there and he cocks his car to the left, facing the wrecked out car. Y'all are familiar with the directions and what I'm talking about, right?
Is this the Bossier City K-9 unit you're talking about, the truck?
I don't know if he's a K-9 unit or not. It was a Bossier guy in the F-150.
Yes.
Okay? As we are making a right onto Benton Road, I see the dude wrecked out and I'm hearing shots going off. Okay? I can't tell you where the shots are coming from. I don't know if they're coming from cops or coming from him. I can't tell. I just know there's a shit ton of them. All right? And as there's what, in my perception, was a lull in the shooting, I got out of my car and positioned myself on the passenger side of that F-150. because I had a good line of sight at the truck and the dude in the truck. And so I'm drawing down, again, because I don't know who's shooting or why, and the dude starts moving, and all of a sudden, more shots are coming in, okay? Now, I'm looking around. I don't know if you guys have been involved in something like this, but it's pretty easy to get tunnel vision when you think there's a deadly threat, right? I remember seeing some guys to my left, uniformed officers, I think some with Bossier, don't know if it was just Bossier or not, and I see guys to the right that are making their way towards this wrecked vehicle, this guy that's crashed out. And I'm immediately thinking to myself, this is not going to be good. Somebody's getting ready to get shot here. And so, again, I'm looking over and I'm trying to keep focused on this guy because I can see a little bit of movement going on. Again, I don't know, he's not a threat to me at this point. I haven't seen a gun, I haven't seen shots come from the car. I see these guys over here waving to the dudes coming from the east westbound, you know, like get over this way so there's no crossfire.
So the guys on your left are waving to the guys to your
On the right, get away, go this way, okay? At that point, again, the guy's still moving around a little bit. There's a stick over here, the dudes that were over here. Again, I'm pretty sure some of them were shooting, but I'm not positive. The stick over here decides they're gonna move in. Why they didn't wait, I don't know. But they decide they're moving. Well, somebody behind me with a rifle taps and goes, come on, let's go. Frankly, I'm thinking to myself, all right, I'm a 60-year-old guy. I got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. We should be waiting, but let's go anyway. So we start moving up, and if I see movement, I'm probably going to squeeze off at this point. But I get to within about 5 or 6 feet and crouch down. The dude's coming from this way, and we weren't in a crossfire. We got an L fire going on the guy. They look in enough and see that he ain't moving anymore, so they give us kind of the holster up. So we all holstered up, and I didn't see any more movement from the guy. Actually, I take that back. As we were approaching, I remember seeing him move, and I hollered at the dudes on the left. I still see movement, and they stopped for a second and then kept going. I didn't shoot because these guys were pretty close. And then once they saw he wasn't moving anymore, that was kind of the end of it. Everybody holsters up, and of course, then a shit ton of police showed up at that point. You know, everybody gets there after it's all over.
Okay.
All right, what else you want to know?
Okay, so I'm just gonna recap kind of what you said. You were at the station whenever you initially heard this coming,
At the station?
or you were at headquarters?
I don't remember where we were. We were in the car, and we weren't far from there. We were probably on, I'm just guessing now, I think we were on Old Minden Road near Benton.
Okay.
No, we'd heard it before that, but that's when we decided we need to start heading up towards East Texas Street.
To where you're gonna intercept it at Benton and US 80.
Yes.
Okay, and then as you're driving on the US 80, you're hearing shots fired while you're pulling in and pulling behind the truck.
Yes.
And as you're getting out, you said there was like a lull, like the shooting stopped and there was a lull.
And then when I got in position, it starts again. Again, this is my recollection, okay? I mean, I remember specifically being at the back of that truck and seeing rounds impacting the windshield on that car. Okay. So somebody's still throwing lead into that car by the time I got up there to the back of the truck. Okay. And I'm assuming you guys saw how close the truck was to the...
And that's part of the first volley? Second volley.
That, if you're going to separate it in volleys, and I'm not sure if that's necessarily fair to do, but yeah, that would be the second volley.
Well,
There's shots going on as I get there, and then I recall, and look, there could have been a second separating the volleys, if you want to call them that. I just remember there's shots fired as I'm getting there. I don't recall shooting while I'm going to the truck, but I remember shooting from me being at the back of the truck. Now again, that's just my recollection. When I watched the video from my dash cam to try to get prepared to do this, the guy that showed me the video had the volume turned all the way down because he works in Central Records, and there are old ladies back there that would have apparently gone to Twitter at the sound of, gunshots and whatnot. So I'm just giving you what I recall.
Okay.
This is not for me watching the video.
Yeah.
Okay.
that I'm getting the temporal of the shots. I do know there were a shit ton of shell casings out there when it was all over with.
Whenever you're on scene, you got out of your vehicle, did you hear anybody talk about a gun or yell gun or give any kind of loud verbal commands?
No, I did not. I'm assuming if all that happened, it was before I got out, and again, I'm just assuming here. If somebody saw what they thought was a gun and started firing after they yelled that, then that was actually before I got there. I can't tell you that I heard the first shots. I'm pretty sure that I did. I'm almost positive that the first shots were as we're pulling up and I'm opening the door. I would say that. I didn't hear anything before that, though.
Okay. Like,
Come on, you guys need to make this worth my while. You're not going to interview an assistant DA again for shooting in a long time.
I think, I mean, we kind of went over, but without calling volleys, you said there was a pause, however long it was.
Yeah.
But you did see movement.
Yes.
Do you remember specifically, or was it just in general?
Okay, now that I can answer you.
Okay.
When I'm at the back of that truck, I'm still seeing movement when I say the back of the truck, at the back of the F-150, the police F-150, there is still movement going on while rounds are being hummed through that windshield. I can tell there's movement going on. As we start approaching, and I still don't understand exactly why, but as we started approaching, this is going to sound terrible. I have just lit a $12 Partagas cigar, and I wasn't about to throw my $12 cigar away just because I was involved in a shooting, so I had a cigar in my mouth the whole time. But I remember making sure I had the cigar, but as we're walking up, I could see directly through the windshield, and I don't know what these guys over here could see. So I'm still seeing movement from the guy as we're walking up, and I yelled, "He's still moving, he's still moving." Now, when I got to the point where I decided to kneel down and I'm not getting any closer, I could see the movement was one of his feet, and I don't know which foot, but it was his foot moving against the glass. And it was at that point that it dawned on me, okay, this is probably last movements we're going to see from this guy, and it's not his arms. I mean, it was just the leg that was moving. What part of him was moving when I first saw it from the back of the F-150, I can't tell you. I don't know. I just know there was movement in the truck.
and once y'all walked up to the vehicle, could you walk us through how the vehicle was cleared, who cleared it, how they cleared it, if you remember?
One of those guys, I think, one of the guys on the stack to my left got a good view and said he's not moving anymore, or it's clear, something to that effect. And as soon as I heard that, I stood up, took a deep breath, and turned to see, okay, who all is here? Is there any officer that shot? Are there any citizens that are shot? Just kind of taking a look around, none of which I saw. And nobody stood right there with him. Within a minute of that, they're putting crime scene tape up. That's when I got kind of irritated, because whoever put it up didn't put it up right. I said, look where you got this tape. You got 20 shell casings outside it. Put that tape back over. I was kind of fussing about that. That certainly didn't answer your question. I think it was one of the guys on the stack to my left that said, it's clear he ain't moving anymore, or something to that effect.
Okay. So once it's cleared, did you go up to the vehicle and look inside the vehicle?
Not right then, I didn't, but I did when Keith Campbell got there.
Okay.
Keith Campbell's another reserve officer. Y'all talked to him yet?
This morning.
Okay, yeah, Keith's a good guy. He's a fireman, right? Mm-hmm. So when Keith gets there, he's immediately putting gloves on. He wants to go do some first aid to the dude. And I said, well, I'll come up there with you. And again, I don't know how long it was between the shoot and stop and Keith get there. It couldn't have been very long. Could have been more than 2 minutes. So I walked up there with Keith, and we both looked in there, and Keith went, there's no point in me even checking this guy for a pulse. I can't tell you who actually stayed right there with me. Yeah, I did go and look at the guy.
Okay, was he moving at all?
No.
Or breathing? Nothing?
Nope.
Did you
I think his eyes were still open, but he wasn't moving.
Okay. Well, did you notice anything inside the vehicle? Guns, weapons, anything like that?
No, I didn't understand. And again, giving you hearsay stuff. I know Keith did, because Keith mentioned it to me later. I did not. At that point, I kind of had my DA hat focused on, and I was focused on making sure that the damn crime scene tape engulfed the entire crime scene, and we didn't let anybody wander around and kick shell casings off or do anything like that. So I really wasn't paying that much attention to the guy in the car.
Okay. Is there anything else? Could you describe to us your full-time job, just your day-to-day job?
Well, I'm semi-retired, so a couple of days a week, my biggest decision is, do I have my Captain Crunch cereal before or after Gilligan's Island reruns? But I run the DA's office in Webster for the Bossier-Webster DA.
Okay.
And I also do a little bit of work for the Narcotics Task Force in Rapides Parish. So that's it.
Okay. Is there anything we left off or didn't ask?
No, I'm sure what I had to say is not very useful. What's going to be a lot more useful to you, I think, is the video from the car.
Yes, sir. Okay. Time now is 12:36 p.m. We'll conclude this interview.
All right, any chance y'all have that?